What's happening, everyone? And welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with Joe's Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him. And I'm joined by my man Sports Talk Terry on all social media platforms, ET, Everett Terry Jr. Let's jump right into it. It's the NBA kind of off-season preview. Last week we did the Atlanta Hawks. This week we're going to jump into the Boston Celtics. So before I give an intro, I first must admit that I was wrong. I did not think the Celtics would win an NBA title, and I was wrong. And I learned some things about the Celtics,
Mm-hmm.
specifically about continuity and
Uh-huh.
how that mattered for them. The war of attrition. Their core managed to stay healthy as far as Drew Holiday, Jayson Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. I wish I could say my opinions on Joe Mazzulla changed, but they haven't.
Come on,
I
man.
wish I could say that I give him credit. I salute him for winning an NBA title because that is definitely hard to do. But I'm not going to jump out the window and give make him a false prophet or anything like that. But I want to admit that I was wrong, and like most people, I like when I'm wrong. It's like an opportunity to learn something. And the war of attrition, the fact that they were able to not just stay healthy, but keep the combination of Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, and even to some extent ridding the locker room of Marcus Smart proved to be enough to help them stay the course. And Drew Holiday, I didn't think was that much of a better defender, but he was a better offensive player. Derek White, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him. Porzingis had a stretch where he played well, but he was hurt pretty much. What the duration of the
Most of the
playoffs? At
playoffs.
least,
Yeah, most of
yeah.
the playoffs.
So but the ability to move Marcus Smart and then add Drew Holiday and get Drew Holiday to spurn the Sixers, and there was a time when he could have went back to Milwaukee, but he didn't. But he spurned some of the other top tier teams, the Knicks. I think we're kicking tires on him. So yeah, I want to give them credit. Now, with that said, I'm going to pose the question to you: has your opinion of Joe Mazzulla changed?
I was the one that said he was a good coach 3 shows ago. I told
Okay.
you Joe Mazzulla's a good coach.
Okay.
And I'm going to stand on what I said. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown have played together for what, 5, 6 seasons?
That is an awesome question. I don't know offhand.
I'm going to say roughly 5, 6 seasons. Guess how many championships they had before Joe Mazzulla? Oh, the same as me and you. Okay, cool. Will we admit that Brad Stevens is a decent NBA coach? Yeah, he was regarded
Say
as a
solid.
decent coach.
Say solid.
Okay. He couldn't get him an NBA title. Emi Udoka, the guy that you were screaming for, he couldn't get him an NBA title.
Whoa,
Now
whoa,
Joe
whoa,
Mazzulla walks
whoa,
in.
whoa.
We gonna go with facts, not hyperbole. And maybe sort of if he hadn't ran with all the girls at the job. We don't care about that. The facts are
Right.
the facts. He got them zero titles in the Celtics as a Celtics
Before you
coach.
change the page, let's go. I want to stay with that because you mentioned Brad Stevens and Emmy Udoka. How much does for Missoula your evaluation of him? How much does playing against teams that had not won an NBA title play into your role as evaluating him? Because
Did the Denver
that
Nuggets
should
use that as an excuse when they won? Did the Denver Nuggets use that as an excuse when they won? No. They went out and they won. The point I'm making is this, because the Celtics played them last year and they beat them. So the point I'm making is this. You can only beat who's in front of you. Great coaches make adjustments. And the one thing you can say, whatever you want about Joe Mazzulla, oh, he was gifted the job and blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. People get gifted jobs every day. Don't mean they're going to be successful at them. The man hit the pinnacle that very few coaches in their career, some great, can't say that they have. There are plenty of great Hall of Fame NBA coaches that didn't win titles. The point I'm making is Joe Mazzulla's already done that. And he did it with a core, whether he put that core together or not, he did it with a core that couldn't win before he got there. They could not win before he got there. They did not win an NBA title before he got there. They had opportunities. They were favorites in the East multiple years and couldn't get to the finals and win. So I don't want to hear, he was gifted the team. He got Steve Kerr his way to a championship. Stop it. It doesn't matter. He went in there and did what he needed to do, pushed the right buttons, put guys in positions, and made the right adjustments, knew when to apply pressure, call the right timeouts. There were very few times that people were like, Joe Mazzulla really messed up here and cost them wins. But most coaches, you're going to say that about in the course of a season. But very often, they never said that about Joe Mazzulla. They said the opposite. He made the right player. He made the right because, and I said this to you a while ago, I didn't follow closely who he was as a person, but he did an interview. And when you heard him talk at the post game conference, you could tell like his verbal autism, like he's mildly autistic, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have an autistic grandchild.
We're
His
gonna
autism,
move on from that.
no, because it's valid. They usually are typically
It's
smarter
not
than a lot of
valid
other
if you
people
don't.
around
Do you
them.
know for a fact that he is?
No, but I'm
Okay,
telling you,
so
as
we
someone who has
can't
a
say
verbally
that.
autistic grandchild, that I'm telling you, like,
But we can't. But
even
we
if he
can't say
isn't,
that.
even if he isn't, the
He's
markers
giving
of
you
his
those
intellect
vibes.
are there. The markers of his intellect are there. He's clearly a bright dude, very, very sharp. And his ability to go in and make those adjustments and make those changes and do the things they needed to do to get that team to a title, which they haven't raised the banner in since what, 2008? All right, cool. No, it was 04 when they beat the Lakers. Okay, since 04, whatever. Wonderful. That's awesome for them that they did that. And I'm
That's
happy that they got that done.
It's interesting that you referenced that team because you often scream Doc Rivers can't coach, and he won a title, but Joe Mazzulla can. It's interesting how that pendulum swings when we like what we like and we don't what we
Here's the
don't.
difference between Doc Rivers and Joe Mazzulla.
Oh,
Doc
do
Rivers was
tell.
coaching talent before he got to the Celtics and couldn't win a daggone thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the players are better than the coach. And I will give
Mm-hmm.
you an example. LeBron James won a title in the bubble. Was that LeBron James or his coaching that got them the title? Because people call LeBron a player coach.
I think it was
When you got a
LeBron and
team with
Ray.
Ray
I think it was
Allen,
LeBron
Paul
and
Pierce,
Rajon Rondo.
and that's my
I
point. When
understand
you got Rajon Rondo, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, three of the sharpest minds in basketball IQ on the same roster, you're not going to let a Doc Rivers blow a 3-1 lead and cost you a
because they had
finals.
won multiple titles before they arrived, right?
Didn't matter. They were all together in the same locker room. But they were all together in the same locker room how many times before that? Oh, okay, cool. Keep that same energy. They never played in the same locker room together before they all got traded to the same team.
Drew Holiday had never played with Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum before last year. Sam Cassell.
Yeah, but you're talking about a different team. I'm talking about that team that won with Doc Rivers.
Sam Cassell. Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is I'm drawing parallels with your example. Sam Cassell, Drew Holiday, two that had won championships before, had never been in that locker room. If you're going to give Mazzulla credit, I'm not going to sit here and go tar and feather this dude. We're going to sit here and belittle and poo-poo the fact that he won an NBA title, especially as a Sixers fan. But what I will say is, I'm going to borrow your phrase, keep that same energy when we talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. Because you like to say Doc Rivers can't coach. Doc Rivers has had all this talent. Joe Mazzulla had a lot of talent. He didn't even get to the NBA Finals that the coach before.
What are you talking about? They got to the finals last year and lost to the Nuggets. What are you talking about?
No, they didn't lose to the Nuggets. The Miami Heat lost to the Nuggets.
Well, all right. They got to the Eastern Conference Finals and lost to the Heat.
Lost to the Miami Heat. And lost to the Miami Heat.
That's fine. And the next year, when he had a full season under his belt with the team, he got to the finals and won.
With Sam Cassell and with Drew Holiday. The same way you're saying that Doc Rivers had Ray Allen,
you say Sam Cassell like Sam Cassell wore a jersey. Sam Cassell ain't wearing no jersey. Sam Cassell's on his coaching staff.
You know what? And let's add some context to that then, because people may be wondering why I mentioned Sam Cassell. Who was the NBA Finals MVP?
Jaylen Brown.
And who did Sam Cassell work with? I don't want to say exclusively, but tirelessly with. Damn better. It's Jaylen Brown. It wasn't Jayson Tatum. It was Jaylen Brown. He worked with Jaylen Brown not just on the little things, because if you remember in the Miami Heat series, they said, "Oh, you forced." They tried to say, "Oh, just force Jaylen Brown left," but it was more than that. It was more than what the Miami Heat did. They not only forced him left, they kept him on one side of the floor. When they kept him on that side of the floor, they took away passing lanes that may have played to his strong hand, but more importantly, they took away those passing lanes to guys that he liked to target all the time. Specifically, Marcus Smart was a guy that he liked to target. Al Horford. They took those passing lanes away, so it was more than just forcing him left. Sam Cassell comes in, not just works with him on developing a left hand, which I've seen the memes of people clowning him, and I laugh at that because I don't use a phrase, you ain't never hooped before, like Kevin Durant, because when the process of getting better, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a constant ugly transformation to get a guy's left hand at an NBA level. And if it's something Jaylen Brown's never worked on, it's going to be ugly throughout the year. But
I
he's
mean, Jerry
gotten better
Stackhouse
with
ain't
it.
handle left either.
Yeah, and Jaylen Brown's gotten better at it. But what Sam himself worked with, and you could see it, was his confidence in critical moments of the game. It was teaching him what to go to. The phrase that is overused is in his bag. It wasn't so much in his bag. Sam Cassell took out certain things and said, when times get rough, let's lean on this. We talked about Mazzulla calling timeouts. We can't say Cassell whispered in his ear to call a timeout, but what we can say is this. When Sam Cassell was on the Phoenix Suns, they had their best year. The guy that was under him was a guy named Steve Nash. When Sam Cassell, the Los Angeles Clippers, before the Live City, before everybody else, they had their best year. A guy under him, Baron Davis. Those guys are not just all-stars. They're one of the top players in their time. Sam Cassell was with the New Jersey Nets before you had Jason Kidd there, before you had all the other foolishness there. They were in the playoffs. Sam Cassell is a guy that's won everywhere he's going, and not just one. I'm talking.
We're waiting for him to be a head coach, and maybe he will next year.
Even going to make, and I can make the claim for him to be a head coach, but I'm just giving you the players, the elite talent that he's been able to excel. John Wall, had one of the best rookie years on one of the worst teams. Sam Cassell was a coach there. Joel Embiid has an MVP year, manages to find a way to stay healthy. Sitting on the bench. Sam Cassell. Ben Simmons doesn't look too for 1 year. Who's sitting on the bench? Sam Cassell. So the point I'm trying to make is, I take you there to bring you here. You want to give Mazzulla credit? I'm not going to stand in your way by no means. But what I do want to add is that he had some help in Drew Holiday, who had won an NBA title.
No, nobody said he didn't have help. That's why you go and get veterans with championship pedigree. That's why you go and you sign a guy like a Drew Holiday at the deadline and you offload a guy like Marcus Smart, because you want that guy with a winning culture that knows what it's like to hit that pinnacle and already be a champion. That's why Bruce Brown was so highly sought after in free agency coming off that Nuggets championship. I mean, he didn't do much with it, but get paid. Great for him. But the point is, winning a championship shows that you got pushed to the limits and got to the mountaintop and still eclipsed it. And having that in a locker room with guys that have never experienced it, when they get edgy, when their palms get a little sweaty, when they feel like, man, I don't think we're going to pull this out, having that guy that can be the big voice in the room and say, calm down, we're where we need to be. I've been here before. This is what we do. All of that matters. Sam Cassell being a champion in his own right helps.
And you think that voice was Joe Mazzulla?
No, I think Joe Mazzulla was the guy that drew up the plays, put the schemes together, and knew when to put guys in right positions. Their ability to rise to the moment had to be within them. By having a guy like a Drew Holiday who said, hey, listen, I was in your spot 2 years ago before I was with Milwaukee, and I had never won. And somebody said, listen, we can do this. We have veterans on our team that said, we can get there. We can win this thing. And we won. And now I know how to pass that baton on. That's what the legends do. That's why they're great. When you put guys that have won around guys that haven't won, you typically get great results.
Well,
listen, LeBron and the Heat won that title when they were getting smoked by the Spurs because Ray Allen said, listen, we where we need to be. Get me that ball. I'll show you how to get there.
It was a little bit more than that, because Bron had a couple points before Ray Allen hits the three, but I want to bring it back.
Nobody's arguing that, but who hit the shot? Ray.
I want to bring it back to the Celtics.
Sure.
Question I opened up with was, have your opinions changed on Mazzulla? You would say they have, in the sense that you believe in him more, if you will. I think that's a fair.
Oh, he's a top 10 coach in the association. Top 10 for sure. You can't name me. You can't name me 10 people better than him in the association. You might not be able to name 5.
That's a good question. I believe I can. Let's see. So,
and don't give me no goofies.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, but you know what? We'll go to that now. So let's see. Let me get my list out before you disagree. All right. Let me get my list out before you disagree.
I'll hold fingers up if I agree.
Okay. Well, no, you can chime in, but just remember the names you disagree with. I'll go Nick Nurse. I go Doc Rivers. I go Ty Lue. I go Greg Popovich. I go Eric Spoelstra. That's 5. Let's see.
Hold on. Who were the 5? I heard Spoelstra, Pop.
I go Nick Nurse, Doc Rivers, Ty Lue, Popovich, Spoelstra. That's 5.
So we got 4 out of the 5. Go ahead.
So we got 5. Let's see. And quickly, because if I gotta think about it too hard, then you're right. I would go with I like Budenholzer.
I like Budenholzer.
Budenholzer in Phoenix. I go Steve Kerr in Golden State. I would go with, I know I'm forgetting some people. So that's 7. Let's see. Clippers, Lakers. I would say that he's better than Mike Brown. I would
He's
say
better than Mike Brown.
I would say he's obviously better than JJ Redick. That's disrespectful. So I wouldn't go there. We've done Phoenix, so let's go with
Mike Malone.
actually take him over Mike. I was just about to say, take him over Mike Malone.
I
Or
do
take
too.
him over Chris Finch. I take him over Chris Finch. I take him over anybody in Atlanta, anybody in Charlotte, anybody in Washington. And I like Jamal Mosley, but I can't make the argument for him yet. But
Yeah, they got to win.
If I had to pick between the two, I would pick Mosley. But
I know you're going to say Emi Udoka. Go ahead and say your boy Emmy.
Well, I haven't gotten to that division yet, but I'll give you him over Mosley. So that's the South. Let's go quickly to I like J Kidd. That's 8.
I'll give you Kidd.
Ime, he's got a title over Ime, so you gotta give him respect on the title. The title means a lot. So I have to stand down on Ime on that. So I guess you would say he's a top 10 because now I'm just trying to think and some of the guys that you would put arguably in there, Ime, Mike Malone, Mike Brown, I would say he's better than because not only has he won an NBA title, because he's been to multiple conference finals. It's
in a much shorter time span as a head coach.
Yeah. And when you think about guys like Mike D'Antoni and his offense, he gets a lot of credit, doesn't match. You think about anybody in Brooklyn, doesn't work. I would take him over Tibbs. I would take him over Tibbs. Thibodeau.
You take him over Thibodeau?
Yeah, I'll take him over Thibodeau.
I call it about a push. Tibbs is a good coach. He just runs his guys into the ground. They'd be so burnt out by the time the playoffs come because they run hard for 82 games plus preseason.
I like Rick Carlisle, but if I got to think that hard about it.
The fact that Rick Carlisle didn't hit your mind sooner tells you where you are with Rick Carlisle.
Exactly. So I'll give you, you know what? You're right on that. You say he's a top 10. Winning that NBA title to me means a lot. It means, and I don't think, I know Kidd doesn't have a title.
Especially considering he beat Jason Kidd, who's in your top 10.
Yeah, I was just about to say, and I know Kidd doesn't have a title, and I would take him over that. But that's just me being a basketball lifer, knowing how much Jason Kidd played in the role of developing Giannis. So
I agree with that.
Kyrie to play and what he's doing with not what he's done, but what he's doing with Luka. So I'm not just going to poo-poo it, but so I put him up there. Now here's a big question for you. Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum are at an impasse now. I believe Jaylen Brown is going to come back and have an MVP year. I believe it. Mostly for 2 reasons. I don't believe Embiid will be healthy, and I don't believe Giannis will be healthy. My heart says Damian Lillard will have an MVP year. He'll lead the team. My heart says that. But my head says Jaylen Brown is younger, he's hungrier, and he's always had that look about him. And if you watch a lot of basketball, you just see a guy. It's like when Jimmy Butler, this dude I don't like a lot, but when Jimmy Butler was ascending in Chicago, he went from a guy that was scared to shoot the ball, that was playing next to Derrick Rose, to commanding the ball and running the offense. And you just see that with Jaylen Brown. But I also think this, and this is what I throw it to you. Jaylen Brown's ceiling is higher than Jayson Tatum's ceiling. And I say
but that's also because Jayson Tatum's floor is higher than Jaylen Brown's floor.
Well, I was going to say this because I believe Jayson Tatum has already hit his ceiling.
I don't really see how much better you expect Jaylen Brown to be. I mean, unless you're telling me he's going to average a double or close to it.
Is that a question?
I mean, what are you saying? He's going to score more points per game? What else can he really get that much better at that he's going to eclipse, and be an MVP? Because in order to be MVP, he'd have to do like SGA numbers as a forward, but have rebounds instead of assists. So you'd have to be at like 32, 9, and 6. That's not Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's never going to average 32, 9, and 6 in the association. All right. He's not with the way they run that offense. The offense is built around Tatum.
I said MVP candidate who averages 30+ points, but I said candidate, not MVP. I didn't say he was going to win the MVP. I said he'd be a candidate. I'm still holding out hope Damian Lillard wins the MVP. I told you, I put that. I said my heart says Damian Lillard, I believe Jaylen Brown will be a candidate. Now, I can answer that in 5 principles. He'll be a better defender. He'll be their go-to defender. Drew Holiday will be the guy that goes from the second to third quarter. Jaylen Brown will be the guy that starts and finishes on the team's best opposing wing player. He'll be a better facilitator, not so much as far as Russell Westbrook facilitation, getting the ball to the guy that gets the bucket, but keeping the offense moving a la Draymond Green. He makes the hockey assist. Everyone knows about that. He'll be a better transition player, meaning he'll push the ball even off makes. So he'll be consistently putting pressure on the defense. He'll be a better shooter. Not just your three-point shooter, but a better mid-range shooter. Be better at getting to his spots on the floor where you can get elbow jumpers, similar to Joel Embiid. No matter where the offense is, no matter where you are on the shot block, that damn Embiid/Ewing will get to that corner. With Ewing, it was the baseline jumper. For Embiid, it's the elbow jumper. And then finally, he'll be a better leader. That's the biggest knock on Jayson Tatum. It's not that he's not a tremendous player, but it's in those wrenching moments. Where the hell is Tatum? When they were playing when the MVP, the Finals MVP was in doubt, you can't tell me Jayson Tatum wasn't out there trying to win that. It was obvious to everybody. He was taking shot at the game was out of hand, out of reach, and he was hunting for that MVP trophy. That wasn't Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown took the game, got the Celtics to a comfortable spot, and then was able to sit back and let Jaylen Brown do whatever it is he wanted to do. That's the difference. His basketball IQ will be higher. So I gave you the 5 things. But the bottom line is his game will go to the next level. I don't see where Jayson Tatum's going to get better.
So here's my counter retort to that. I will only concede that he could be a better leader simply because, like you said, and I will give you 100% credit because you called it and I was going to say it. When the finals were on the line and Jayson Tatum needed to show up, he played small 4 of the 6 games they played. They won that title because of Jaylen Brown, not Jayson Tatum. So in that regard, he now commands leadership respect in that locker room because he's the reason they all got rings. I will give you that. To say he's going to have a higher basketball IQ, we can't quantify that to a measurable analytical stat to say, oh, okay, so he knew that they went to the zone, now they're going man. We're not going to know that. We know how they play within a scheme and a system. To say he's going to be a better defender, I may concede that to a point because he is the better defender between the two of them. Tatum isn't a great defender. He's not terrible. He's just not the best. Brown is a better defender. He's a little more aggressive. He tends to lock down his guy and force him where he wants him to go.
It's kind of like he's studying his guy during the game, right?
I mean, most times they already know what the guy's going to do before they get to the court. I mean, these are guys we've played against forever. They get film on guys. So, I mean, they can watch it on the bus.
Watch that film, you would say, right?
Yeah, but again, but here's what I'm saying. If I'm going up against, let's use because now he's in Dallas. Let's say he's going up against Clay. He's played against Clay's entire career, his entire career. He knows Clay likes to go to the top corner left with a 3. He likes to pull up from the arc occasionally off the curl screen. These are things that people watching it casually can see if you watch enough basketball games. So it's not anything new for Brown to say, okay, I slip under the screen and meet him where the ball's going to come and take his lane away. Or I close and force him to drive, which isn't his strength. These aren't things that are like, oh, my God, he showed so much basketball IQ because he knew that, because you and I could watch the game and say that. And we've talked about basketball games and say, yeah, why did he close out on him? Like, so to say that, no, if you're talking some rookie that nobody's ever seen before, okay, I'll give you that. But again, they have scouts who watch film on these guys going back to AAU days in some instances, and they pull it all together, and then they put it on an iPad. These guys can watch it in between games, after practice, before tip-off, and have an idea of what to expect. They go in the locker room in the huddle. Hey, we saw him doing a lot of this. You want to kind of shade him this way. There's your Sam Cassell moment. I've played against guys who like to go this way. When you see him go this, shift your shoulders and put a little hip towards his left knee. That's going to force him to have to come right. That's where you'll be able to get him. Like, these are things that you'll see during the game, but I don't necessarily know that that's a Jaylen Brown thing, or more so just them doing their job as professional athletes, researching each other, because people research him too. That's why everybody in the world knew he couldn't go left until last year. Like, okay, because he never went left. Every time he went left, it was 2 dribbles and a pull-up or back to the right. Like, it wasn't hard. So, can he become a better finisher at the rim by being more aggressive with his left hand? That he can do. That'll get him more points and more buckets because it'll take away that, oh my God, I picked up my dribble, got a pass, and maybe lead to more scoring. That I'll give you. The defender part, okay. The rest of that, I don't know that you can quantify that as being better. But the leader thing is going to be huge. I just don't know that makes him an MVP candidate. Will Boston be at the top of the East? Yes, they will, because they're always going to be at the top of the East. Yeah, they're always going to be at the top of the East as long as they keep that core together healthy. So, yeah, they'll be at the top of the East, which means he's always going to be a consideration. And because he's the leader of the best team in the East and potentially in the entire league, he's going to be in consideration for MVP. Do I think he'll win it? No, because he plays with another star who's capable of putting up numbers that's going to hurt him. The difference between Giannis and Lillard is they play two different styles. Brown and Tatum practically play the same way. That's why they play off each other. Well, they're more like Batman and Superman versus Batman and Robin. Whereas with Giannis and Dame, Giannis attacks the rim. Lillard can play from the outside, so
Batman didn't have any superpowers. It was just hard work. Superman
didn't matter. He was also the smartest man in the room and the greatest detective of all time.
And Jaylen Brown is okay. I'll leave it there. You walked into my point not once but twice. The first time you walked into it when we talked about studying film, but you walked into it with the Batman comment, and the final way you walked into it when you talked about Dallas. You said, let's say Jaylen Brown will be covering Klay Thompson. That's the maturation of Jay-Z. That's the maturation of JB. He's not going to be covering Klay Thompson at any point in the game.
I just use him as an example. He'll be probably matched up on
Luka. I understand the example, but I'm using your example to make my point. Okay. He's going to be on Luka and Kyrie. You know who won't be on Luka and Kyrie? Unless they run a switch on purpose? Jayson Tatum. And it's not because Jayson Tatum doesn't have the athletic ability a la Superman. It's because at too many moments, too many times, he's Clark Kent. That's not a bad thing with Jayson Tatum. It's not a knock on Jayson Tatum. It's just that Jaylen Brown is always Batman. Even when he's Bruce Wayne, he's always Batman. He's going to make a mistake going 100 miles per hour. You are going to have to, come on, Jason. What's the difference? Jason is going to get those points because at that moment, he wants to be Superman. He wants to get those points. He wants accolades. He wants the acclaim. That's why he's going to score more points. That's why he'll average more points. But it won't be because he's the better player. I'll give you the final word on the segment.
I think that the Celtics are going to have an amazing season. I think that we're gonna have a lot of discussion about them this year. We're gonna talk a lot more about Joe Mazzulla because, like you said, the maturation of. I think you're gonna see him take his coaching to another level and really show people that it wasn't just fluky thing. I think
that's your question. What does coaching to another level for Joe Mazzulla look like?
They getting back into the finals again.
Okay.
And depending on matchups, winning again. Because matchups obviously matter. Styles make fights. If they get the right matchup, they can beat just about every team. I think they beat every team in the West except maybe two. Maybe two, and that's just because matchups matter.
Coming out yet. I don't even know. Before I go, I gotta ask you, man, what does Sam Cassell have to do to be a head coach? I'm just curious.
I don't know because he should have been a coach like 3 years ago. I don't know what else the man needs to do. It's the same. It's the Eric Bieniemy question. What does he need to do to get a head coaching job when you see guys off the street getting jobs before him?
Every guy to struggle with. If you go back to Sherm Lewis when he was the offensive coordinator for the Packers, and Norm Chow when he had the success with Vince Young, and then you go back to basketball and or you talk about Eric Bieniemy. Players didn't like those coaches. It was about 50-50. Can't find a player that doesn't like, more importantly, he respects Sam Cassell. And I know people want to quantify it as, it's racist, but it's not. It's bigger than that. There's more to it than that. What does he have to do? Because he should have got the Lakers job.
Well, you know what, too? But you know what, too? There are some guys in this world that are just better at certain things than others. And maybe Sam Cassell is the best. He might be the best assistant coach in the association. It might be a horrible head coach. We've seen that happen countless times. Guys who are amazing offensive coordinators, offensive assistants, they get head coaching jobs, they fail, they go back to being offensive coordinator assistants, and they flourish. Lane Kiffin is the first name that jumps in my mind. Terrible as a head coach, amazing as an offensive coordinator. He could offensive coordinate any team in the world and they'd be amazing. But you give him that head coaching job and they look like a train wreck. It's certain guys that just do better in certain spaces. And he might be that guy that knows how to be that different voice when the coach is yelling at him about not executing the right way. Who said, hey, you were supposed to zag, you zigged. Who you were supposed to come here and pull up and pop, you pulled up and faded. Like, there's a lot. There might be a way where he says, listen, you know, you come here, you hit. There's a way you can coach and provide that extra insight as an offensive assistant coach than you necessarily might not be able to as a head coach because you got so many other things to worry about. And maybe for what it's worth during his interview processes, maybe teams are seeing that because outside of that, it's not his credentials. It's not the fact he hasn't been successful where he's went or that he hasn't developed players. So I can't think of any other reason other than A, he doesn't want the job because he's really comfortable at what he does, or B, team sees something and say, I'll take him all day as an assistant, but I can't give him the head coach. I don't know. I don't have any other reason as to why.
Like, I understand with Mark Jackson. I understand whether I agree
he blackballed himself.
Yeah, and whether I agree with it or not, I want to make that line. It's not that I agree with Mark Jackson, but I understand it. I don't understand it with Sam Cassell. He's not a guy that he's going to command respect. He's going to do those things, but you're going to see results on the court. And he's not a guy that's difficult to work with. Is he a different bird? Does he fly a different way? Yes, but he's not a penguin. He still flies. It's weird to me.
What team realistically of all the job vacancies would be the best fit for him
Lakers,
if he had a chance to get an NBA job?
The Lakers.
I'm not disagreeing, but maybe that was a Bron thing. Maybe Bron didn't want him. You can't assume that because he's respected that Bron still wanted him to be his coach. See, Bron wanted somebody he could control. Say what you want, but he's going to go into that huddle and say, hey, JJ, we not running that play. JJ ain't going to say nothing because Bron's got the pedigree.
Well, I know for a fact, short of talking to LeBron himself, that he did not get involved with the head coach. I know he was signed, sealed, and delivered to LA, regardless who the coach was, so he never got involved with it. It wasn't something that he got involved. And we got 3 minutes. I'm gonna just sum it up like this.
If you think Bron had nothing to do with that man getting that job, I got a beautiful beachfront property in the bottom of Kensington to sell you.
When we get done, we got a 10-minute break. We can look it up. It's other people. Nick Wright has said it. Chris Broussard has said it. There have been Matt Ricardo. Like, there have been people out there that are close to him that said he didn't have, because the bottom line was, regardless of who the coach could have been, the coach, he was coming back to Los Angeles.
It's not about coming back to Los Angeles. It's LeBron was going to do what he wanted to do regardless.
The
Lakers were going to draft Bronny, right?
So he wasn't going to go anywhere. So that's
right. So you think the guy he happened to start doing podcasts with, who never coached ever, got them one of the most sought after coaching jobs, coaching two future Hall of Famers, and he had no say.
They're setting it up. We can't delve into the topic, but let me answer your question. Rob Pelinka is setting up it's his fault. That's what Rob Pelinka's doing. He wanted it. That's what Rob Pelinka's doing. Rob Pelinka is a quintessential, he epitomizes walking B. He is the B in life. And B's always hire C's. And that's what Rob Pelinka is. He hired the C so he can go. You look at the coaches he's hired. Even if you didn't want JJ Redick, bro, Nick Budenholzer is sitting right there. To grab a guy because he reminds you of a dude that won an NBA title 40 years ago. I'm going to repeat that. A guy that won an NBA title. And don't give me the Shaq and LeBron James Miami Heat. Riley won a title with the Lakers when he was a coach 40 years ago with two of the greatest players of all time at their position. He needed two of the greatest players of all time to win another NBA title. He actually needed 3 if he threw Dwayne Wade in there. So he's setting up to blame it on LeBron. LeBron could care less because you know what's better than $2 billion? 3, and that's what he's working on at this point.
And not only that, but to see his son get drafted and get a guaranteed 4-year contract, that's a win. Generational wealth and legacy.
And they knew that. All right, that's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you like the podcast, make sure you share, subscribe, comment, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. I appreciate the YouTube comments that I've been getting. We're trying to get back to them in a timely manner, whether you disagree or agree. There's no contempt on this end. And as always, for Everett Terry Jr., I'm Kwame Fisher-Jones. We appreciate your time and year. You be easy.